Make sure you're taking care of yourself and being well with yourself, because our health is the one thing that if it falls, we lose everything. We can always rebuild our wealth. Heck, we can even rebuild relationships. But our health sometimes is the thing that we can't rebuild. So cherish it. Cherish it.
I'm Junaid Ahmed, host of Hacks and Hobbies podcast and a digital presence advisor at Humble Zone. This episode is brought to you by Home Studio Mastery. I launched a consultation and course program to help podcasters and course creators to create a space in their homes that will reduce the friction of creating content and appearing their best when showing up on camera. The pandemic gave us a lot of issues, but this one is here to stay. We're now so much closer to our audience thanks to video becoming more popular and affordable. I help guide folks who want to create Hollywood-worthy studios to not only capture great content, but also build more confidence, more authority, and be more comfortable in front of the camera. If I can do it, you can too. And with my help, you can do it faster. So if you'd like to learn more, visit homestudiomastery.com and how you too can create a home studio that brings out your personality, professionalism, and possibilities. Thank you for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. We're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life who want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around.
In this episode, I engage in a captivating conversation with Kayla, a gifted graphic designer and passionate podcaster. Kayla takes us back to her earliest memories of creativity, sharing how she used podcasting as a healing tool during her childhood. We explore her path into graphic design, the defining moments that solidified her passion, and how podcasting has transformed her life. Join us as we dive into Kayla's inspiring journey and uncover the magic of finding your creative voice. This is going to be an awesome conversation.
Kayla, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So awesome. So let's take a walk through memory lane and rediscover your origin story. Now, you don't have to go too far back. We just want to see what inspired you and how you got the journey started. Now, you are a podcaster or you started a podcasting journey, but let's start from how you got into business and what keeps you going.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. So I got started. I like to actually take it back to the origin story of where everything really started when I was around 5 years old and I was going through the experience of being bullied. And I remember coming home from school and I would sit down and I would go to my cassette tape player and I would hit the record button and I would talk into the tape player. And I called it my radio show. And it was something I was really podcasting. I really wasn't, obviously, it wasn't going anywhere, but I was using the medium of podcasting to help me heal from that experience. That's really where it started. And fast forward, I was creative as a kid. I used that as a coping tool for my experience and ended up graduating with a graphic design degree. So I've been in the creative arts in a multitude of facets. And so graphic design and podcasting are where I am today.
Dude, that is so cool. Talk about using technology to be a listener of our feelings, because it's truth, right? You have to really talk it out. You have to get it off your chest. So even if it's somebody's listening or not, journaling does the same kind of thing. But when you talk it out, you're removing it from your mindset, you're removing it from your body so that you can begin to heal.
100%. It was very helpful in that journey of that time in my life to be creative and have creative outlets. And my mom always encouraged my creative outlets. And so I don't think I would have been able to cope if I didn't have my voice, my creative outlets to fall back on.
So Tell me a little bit about how you got into graphic design, because that's something that perks up my mind. I'm a graphic designer through and through for all my decades of designing and creating sites and logos and whatnot. So, how did that come into your life?
Graphic design started again as I was a young person and I was playing around on my first computer. It was like a Windows 95.
Mm.
We all had those and we had paint on there. And I remember going on there and just really diving in and getting lost in creating on the paint program. And what I did was I would just like draw my favorite cartoons from TV, and they looked strikingly similar to what was on the TV. And my mom took note of it, and other people who saw my work took note of it. And in high school, I took a computer aided design, so CAD class, and that also I excelled in that. And so it just hit me. I wanted to do something creative in college. I didn't know exactly what it would be. And I remember just getting there and sat down at the arts table and got into the graphic design program. Communication is a big part of my life too. So it was visual communication. And so that's how it started for me. And I graduated then with a degree in that.
Nice. So, as you are working on these graphic design projects for your clients, for the people that you work for, what was one of the defining moments that said, no, this is definitely where I should be, and this is what I am bringing to the table?
I've definitely had my ebbs and flows with client work. I've been doing graphic design since about 2011 on and off, and I've experimented with different corporate positions as well as different local businesses. And then I currently do freelance again. During that time, I just really love bringing people's visions to life and seeing my clients light up and have that and be able to serve the community in that way and serve that niche that I work with. So for me, it just stemmed from the love of creating and seeing somebody's vision that they have in their head, or helping them create that vision, bring it to life, and ultimately seeing that on the side of their building or on a billboard somewhere. So I really love branding projects, graphic and logos, and that's one of my favorite things to create. So bringing that to life really just sparks me. And I've had different facets of that throughout my career, yet it's always been the same. I love seeing the results, and I love seeing things either in print or on a sign or on a t-shirt, something like that.
I love that. Yeah, graphic design is definitely one of those expertise that a lot of people enjoy, because you have the outcome is now on a t-shirt, right? It's now on a billboard, it's now on the letterheads and everything. I'm going through this mastermind where we're focusing on the messaging side of a brand. What's the brand and who's the person behind it, and what really gives life to that brand. I think that's really beautiful when you put it all together.
I completely agree.
Awesome. All right. So we've talked about how you got started so as you started and spoke into this deck, recording your voice, I'm sure you can go back and listen to this. Wow, this is really interesting time in my life that I was recording. And as you've gone through these years, I'm sure there's something that keeps coming back. And one question that I'd love to ask is, what has podcasting done for you in these years? Now, you recorded yourself, and I'm just falling all over. But what I'm trying to get to is, as you've gone through this experience, what has podcasting done for you now that it's something that you're actively doing?
The podcasting experience for me has come full circle. I was actually in a corporate graphic design position when I got offered a radio show. And I'd never done that before in my life, but just my experience with, I've been in vocals, I've done acting, I've done the variety of so many creative endeavors that I thought, hey, let's give it a try. And so this art form came back into my life as an adult. And I thought, what can I do with this? So it started just as a hobby. It was a radio show. I was in corporate as a creative outlet. And then fast forward 3 years later, and I find myself in this new world of podcasting and really growing in that. Now I'm shifting and growing that part of my business and turning it into something that I can leverage, that I can turn into something as a creative business as well. So it's come full circle.
That's amazing. Yeah, podcasting has definitely opened the doors and connected us podcasters with people in industries that you never would have thought to connect with through any other mediums.
100%. It's such a cool experience. It's such a cool group of people because as I connect with other podcasters, I realize a lot of us are storytellers where we want to share either stories, feelings, emotions, resources through our voice. And I found it to be very fun to discover like-minded people that are creative and that are a little quirky sometimes.
Yeah.
And we all can find that balance together and find that synergy together. So that's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. I love it. One thing that I've also found is that your mom has been a huge part of inspiring you and encouraging you. Tell me more about that.
Yes, my mom is my biggest cheerleader. She has taught me so much over the years. I got to grow up on a farm and I had no fences, no barriers, nothing holding me back, and just the horizons in front of me. So I credit her so much because she's been such a big part of my creative endeavors. She's encouraged me since the get-go, since I was 3 years old in gymnastics, doing cartwheels across the floor. She was always there. And we've taken on creative endeavors together too in different industries. And she's just always been there. I still call her a few times a week at least. She's my anchor. She's keeps me grounded. And she definitely is just cheering me on all the time. So I love that. Yeah, she's my biggest cheerleader.
That's amazing. And I think one of the things that as growing up and raising children myself, it's so important to see and know that you have somebody in your corner. We all think that we're all alone as entrepreneurs. We're all alone as podcasters. We got to figure everything out. But the truth of the matter is there's a lot of people around us that within a given moment, you just have to ask and they are there to support us and encourage us.
Totally. I think it's so important to have those core people, whether it be a parent or somebody else you love, a mentor. I've got quite a few of them because I tend to be I err on the creative side. So I'm a little all over the board. So I need those grounding people in my life to just remind me to stay focused and shower me with love, but also tough love when I need it.
Yeah, I think that's totally an amazing place to be. I love it. This conversation has been so much fun. Thank you so much, Kayla. All right, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, you're going to share with us 5 hacks to take away. Sorry. Take a quick 5-minute break. And when you come back, you're going to share with us 3 hacks to take away for the audience.
Perfect.
I'm Junaid Ahmed, host of Hacks and Hobbies podcast and a digital presence advisor at HumbleZone. This episode is brought to you by Home Studio Mastery. I launched a consultation and course program to help podcasters and course creators to create a space in their homes that will reduce the friction of creating content and appearing their best when showing up on camera. The pandemic gave us a lot of issues, but this one is here to stay. We're now so much closer to our audience thanks to video becoming more popular and affordable. I help guide folks who want to create Hollywood-worthy studios to not only capture great content, but also build more confidence, more authority, and be more comfortable in front of the camera. If I can do it, you can too. And with my help, you can do it faster. So if you'd like to learn more, visit homestudiomastery.com and how you too can create a home studio that brings out your personality, professionalism, and possibilities.
Hey guys, welcome back. We've been speaking with Cote. Thank you so much for correcting the way you pronounce your name. My name is always being butchered. Somebody's calling me Hunaid, somebody calling me Junaid without the D. I'm like, no, it's this way. So I always tell people it's Junaid like lemonade. And they're like, okay, now I get it.
I love that. The Junaid like lemonade. That is the perfect way to remember it. And it is hard when you have a hard name. Like I completely relate. I've struggled at airports because the full name is Cote van Rensburg. And I just am like, let's just shorten that up and make it super easy and roll off the tongue.
Thank you so much. I know we talked about it before the break, but you've got 3 hacks to share with the superpreneurs listening today.
Yes. This is such a fun question because I feel like my hacks are ebb and flow, but I go back to 3 main goals and 3 main ways to recalibrate myself. My one hack is surround yourself with a community of people who lift you up and who you are also lifting up. When you find a community that keeps you thinking and keeps you sharp, that's going to keep you going. I like to surround myself with people who are smarter than me, who are more advanced than me. I also like to surround myself with peers that are around on my level. And then I like to surround myself with people who are slightly like maybe a couple years behind who I can help or I can mentor. So it's the rule of 33. I like 33% with each of those wheelhouses of people. So community is my number 1. And number 2 is to remember that being fearless isn't what it seems. We will always have fears and we will always be challenged and we will always be stepping into things of unknown territory, especially when we are entrepreneurs or superpreneurs or when we are doing something challenging. But that is the way we grow. And my secret sauce, my hack for being fearless, quote, is to, even if you have the fears, you do the thing anyway, and just know that, hey, the fear is going to be there. But that's what's important because that means you're stepping out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And that means there's growth. So have a ton of grace with yourself. You might fall, and you might fail, but you can fail forward and know that, hey, failing is a part of growth. So fearlessness really doesn't exist, but that doesn't mean you can't grow. Fears are always going to be there and you could just do the thing anyway. So that's always been a big motto of mine is growing up on the farm for sure. You just rock and roll with whatever comes. And my number 3, let's see, there's so many I can choose from, but honestly, number 3 hack is take care of yourself holistically, mind, body, soul. Everything works together. And if we're not taking care of ourselves, we're not bringing our A game to the table and we're not able to serve our communities, our clients, whoever we're serving. So remember to take rest. And I tell you this because this is one I struggle with the most. And I talk about health and wellness on my podcast. And I need to be my own coach because isn't that the truth? So I'd say the third hack is make sure you're taking care of yourself and being well with yourself, because our health is the one thing that if it falls, we lose everything. We can always rebuild our wealth. Heck, we can even rebuild relationships.
Yeah.
But our health sometimes is the thing that we can't rebuild. So cherish it.
100%. Thank you for the 3 hacks, Kay. Those were really good, especially the community part and then being graceful to yourself. And then also every single one of them was, I'm like chiming in with each one. I'm like, yes, absolutely. Because being fearless does not mean that you're afraid, right? You mentioned that. And what's beautiful is I've talked to people from all levels of life, being able to have interviews with people from 7-figure, 8-figure, no matter where they are in life, we inherently are going to be afraid of every new thing that we're going to take on. It doesn't mean that the fear goes away. It just means that we are human and it is okay, right?
100%.
Awesome. I love it. Well, Kate, let's jump into the rapid fire questions. Number one, what is the one hobby that you wish you got into?
Okay, this one's super fun. I loved answering these. So as a kid, I was obsessed with storm chasing. I was obsessed with chasing thunderstorms. I loved
Ooh,
watching tornado movies. Like it was my jam. And I remember like on the farm, we would watch and we could see tornadoes forming in the far distance if there was a storm. And I remember just being obsessed with that. And I really thought about going into like weather or something like that and be a storm chaser. Yeah, I don't know. It's a random one, but I love the thrill of a good storm.
no, that is so cool because I remember watching the movie Twister and I'm sure I'm like, oh my God, what are they doing? This is so cool. And there's a whole genre of people creating cars that can withstand these crazy hurricanes. It's amazing.
That's exactly the movie that sparked it for me too, was Twister. And then I just was like, I want to do that. I so want to do that. So I was like the science nerd.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't go that route. My mom is probably happy that I did not go that route.
Yeah, I'm sure she is. What's cool is that there's an app called Storm Radar by Weather Channel. And I have that app. So every time there's a storm coming, I was like, oh, let's look at the radar. And then it'll show as time passes and where the things are coming from. And one thing that I've noticed about the area that we live in, at least like a square mile area, is that we almost always miss like different storms and rains. I'm like, why do we not get the rain and everybody else gets it? It's really weird.
That is interesting. It makes me curious, the science, if there is a science behind like the why, because of the
Yeah.
jet streams and all that jazz. See, there's
Yeah.
my like inner geek like coming out. I'm such a nerd. I love it. I own my
I love it.
nerdness.
No, we are a nerd friendly because I am a huge nerd here as myself. You know, I've got toys and everything that in my background. I've got like posters for superheroes and heroes and whatnot. So we are a nerd friendly.
I love that.
Hey, maybe that should be the byline. Hacks and Hobbies, nerd friendly podcast.
I love it.
Awesome. Number two, what did you want to be when you were a child?
This is a fun one. Of course, I wanted to be an actress, and part of it came true. I do some local acting and
Oh,
I have
sweet.
training. So I do love it. And there is part of me that does want to explore that side a bit more. So I always have been just like I love to be on stage. I love to be creating. So even with the podcast, I can create and script and write and interview, and definitely. So yeah, I'm pretty much doing what I wanted to do as a kid.
I love it. That's so cool. All right, next up. What is your favorite movie or TV show? And if none, how about a book?
So I did a double, and it's by the same person. So I really loved Radical Confidence by Lisa Bilyeu. And she also has a show on YouTube called Women of Impact.
Oh, nice.
And those are both would be my favorite show. This was a tough one for me because it's hard for me to choose like a favorite show or movie, but I would say anything by Lisa is something I'm really interested in.
Fantastic. I love that. I'm going to have to go check it out. Next up, what movie would you choose if you got to play a character in it?
Ooh, this is a tough one too. I really honestly, let's see, this is a real tough one because I could go a multitude of ways. We might have to edit a little bit of this because I'm I could go so many ways with this just because anything where there's an underdog that comes to the surface. I really enjoyed, I guess even the movie, it's an old one, but a good one. I really love Burlesque with Christina Aguilera and Cher.
Yeah.
And I just loved how she was from a small town, was told she'd never make her dreams come true. And she went and she did it. And it's very similar to what I just did. I was in my home state of North Dakota and just recently moved to Austin, Texas. And
Mhm.
so far it's been like blowing up for me. So I think Christina Aguilera in Burlesque, just the fact that she had the courage to make her dreams come true and become this incredible singer that we know she is. So yeah, let's go with that, Burlesque.
I love it. Thank you so much. Yeah, Christina Aguilera is a force to be meddled with. She has an entire master class where he teaches you, she teaches us how to be a good performer, a good singer. And it's really amazing that she's given it back to the community as well.
I agree. Yeah, she's great.
Who is your who's who is your favorite superhero?
Okay, this is very specific. So
Ooh.
it's Dean Cain as Superman in the 90s because he was my first crush.
Mm,
I remember looking at him and I was like, and I was like really young. I was like maybe 5 or 6. And I just like totally just loved his character. And I think just the idea of Superman or Superwoman, whatever, just thinking about you live this life of service and you have this incredible skill set, yet you're so humbled that you are quiet and you hide it under your day-to-day outfit. And you just
yeah,
know that you're so humble and that you are doing this as a service and nobody knows who you are. In reality, you're just
yeah.
you're just an average person. But we all have a superpower. We all have a gift. And it's so
Yes, we do.
important to recognize that and know that you can let that shine and you can use your gifts for good. So I think that would be my answer. Dean Cain, of course.
I love it. Thank you. All right, last up, if you were a board game, what would it be?
If I were a board game, what would it be? What would I be? That's another good question. Honestly, I love the game Sorry as a kid. You know, you move it and then you can knock the other ones and then they like you scoot
Yeah, yeah,
back
yeah.
or what you
Mhm.
slide back. I don't know. I think just the childhood memories around that game. It's very simple yet super fun and anybody can play it. So
Yeah,
I think that would be my board game.
awesome. I love it. Wow. Okay, I'd just say Cote. Cote, this was a fun conversation. Thank you so much for bringing the joy and answering the questions so funnily. This was a lot of fun, and I hope that the audience got a whole bunch of good information that they can imply and implement in their lives. Okay, how can people connect with you?
Oh, thank you so much. This has been such a joy to be a part of. And I would love to chat with anybody. You can connect with me on Kaycote, that's KAYCOTE.com. That's my main website, as well as on Instagram. I am at the Kaycote. And if you want to check out my podcast, it's Elevated You, and it's on all platforms. And that's also on Instagram at elevatedyou.podcast.
Fantastic. Thank you so much again. And we'll catch you in the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode on Hacks and Hobbies. We absolutely appreciate your contribution. You can find additional notes on hacksandhobbies.com. Please share the podcast with your friends and tell them what you learned about our guest today.